Record and we're off. Beth, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Man, it has been a minute. When did we record our podcast?
That was,
Early 2018, maybe?
yeah, I think so.
Shit, so it's been almost 2 years.
Actually, I think that's exactly right. I think it was winter, the end of winter in 2018. Yeah.
Yeah, damn. So there's been a little bit of change and in your life since then, right?
Absolutely.
Let's get into it. I guess where you're living now and where you were living then to start off.
Yeah. So I was in Norfolk, Virginia. I own a house there. I still do, actually, renting it out, which is also a new thing for me. Never been a landlord before. So,
Outside of the country, I'm sure that's fun.
yeah. Yeah. I think so far, so good. The first week was a little rocky, but so far, so good. And I moved from there to outside of Tacoma, Washington. So like literally clear across the country, fully opposite coast, totally different.
Yeah. How long ago did you move to Washington? It's pretty recent, right?
Oh yeah. It was, I left Norfolk the week of Thanksgiving, and it's now January 5th. So, we got here, I think we arrived like January 11th or something December 11th or something like that. So we've been here not quite a month.
Okay. Gotcha. What took you out
Yeah.
there?
Fiance is stationed at Joint Base out here. So he got stationed here, and it was like, all right, well, I guess we're going to be in a totally opposite side of the country. So not something I ever planned to do.
Yeah. Is that something that you thought about when you guys first started dating?
Yeah, it was a big conversation like early on, because he was always planning on commissioning as an Army officer. We knew that was going to mean a move. I was ready to get out of Norfolk. I think I had, so much history there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really ready to kind of create something new and different. I miss it like crazy, though. It is like every bit as awesome of a place as I knew it was when I lived there. So I'm like grateful for a new experience, but I think we both miss it a lot. But the good news is that of all Army bases that we could have gotten, this is probably the one we were most happy to get. So so that's an upside. And we actually already have a lot of friends out here who were stationed out here prior to us coming out. So so we're not like totally alone, which is awesome.
Yeah. What's something you like about living in Washington now?
So it's like, I feel like it's such a tourist thing to say, but Mount Rainier is like, it's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Like, I grew up in the mountains. I grew up in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia.
Okay.
Like, I pride myself on being a girl who grew up in the mountains. Like, I know mountains. Mount Rainier is not a mountain. Like, I mean, it's not, like, it actually is a volcano. It's not even a mountain. It's a volcano.
What?
But so the funniest story, I think, since moving here was we were looking for a rental house, and we're sort of like driving toward Rainier, which like we didn't really realize is what we were doing, because we didn't really know, like we weren't really oriented. We were just kind of like driving with the GPS toward a particular address. So we're driving, and like we see off in the distance like a kind of like, crest of like mountains. So we were like, it was like highway, and then it was like, like trees, and then like out in the distance we could see these mountains. And I look over at him and I'm like, hey, like that must be Mount Rainier. Like, wow, those are big mountains. And he's like, yeah, wow, those are really big. I'm like, yeah. And then we round a bend, and then Rainier comes into view, which like destroys those mountains. I mean, it's like 8 times the size of the mountains that we were just talking about. And we were both like, whoa, like it was cartoonish. Like, and it's so funny because and it's like a joke here. Like, we actually wrote a story yesterday, and there were a lot of like t-shirts and like mugs and stuff that said, live every day as if the mountain is out. And it's so funny because that's exactly how it is. Like we'll be driving and we're like, oh my God, Rainier's out today. Cause it's so foggy here. Like you can't see it a lot of the time.
Yeah,
And then the fog will clear and you're like, oh, cause I mean, it is a presence. Like
yeah,
I keep saying to him, I'm like, it feels honestly, like it's almost like comforting to me. Like it feels like it's its own like divine presence that like just hangs out like in the distance. And when you can see it, you're like, oh yeah, like you're right there, like always right there. It's very grounding. It's an odd thing that I've never really experienced before.
that's where a lot of people like. That's a pretty intense hike, right? Or a pretty intense climb.
Yeah.
Like, is that like literally like up the side of a mountain, or is that like you can wind your way up?
Yeah, so there's apparently like several different paths. So you can kind of do it multiple ways. I know our friend who was in Ranger Battalion here said the Rangers every year hike, like summit it actually. And so they have like a path that is like, it's like a thing they do as an event every year.
Okay.
So you can definitely like climb straight up it, but there are like places that you have to like actually do like climbing, like it's not just hiking, like there's
Yeah.
So we haven't actually been out there yet. It's a national park, and I was actually just looking at it the other day. I want to be able to go up and like spend some time, but the weather here, as everybody hears about, is a little tricky when it comes to like wanting to spend time outdoors constantly. So
Yeah, I've heard it's gloomy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, actually the sun is out today, which is like kind of miraculous. And it's not like it's exactly what everybody said. People had said to me like, it's not raining all the time. It's just always like misting or like kind of spitting. Like it's just always wet. Like
Yeah.
you're never really safe to like not have a rain jacket with you. Um,
Ah,
and that's pretty much exactly what we see. Like our backyard is always always just a mud pit because it never dries enough to get dry to stay dry. It just dries a little bit and it's still mushy, and then it immediately rains again, and then it like gets all soaked again and there's just puddles. So my house is just like full of dog feet. The whole floor is just all dog feet, but it is what it is.
oh man. Is that part of the reason why it's been like a tough transition, the weather, or what?
I've kind of always had some seasonal affective disorder stuff, so like I'm not.
Mm,
I was kind of expecting. Usually about right now anyway, I start to be like, okay, like I need to be outside more. I kind of think I ruined myself a little bit. Like, so, I mean, to back up a little, like, my fiance and I have been together for a little over 2 years. We were together 13 months before he left for training,
mm,
and was in training all of last year, like January 10th to when we moved here. He underwent like a lot of different things there. He went to Ranger school, he went to airborne school, he did all kinds of things, which is really super cool. But I think that was the first time probably since my divorce that I have truly like really embraced living alone. Like
mm,
I was like healed enough, I think, finally from the divorce that I could actually like enjoy living alone as opposed to sort of like making do, which is kind of what I had done for the year and a half before I actually met my fiance now.
yeah.
Although I don't think I realized that until we moved here
Huh.
together.
Yeah.
And so the entire the entire last year, I mean, I lived so well for myself. You know, I did whatever I wanted to do. I spent every second outside that I could spend outside. I really like created new hobbies and like learned to do things, you know, really just kind of fed my own soul like constantly.
Yeah.
And I got really used to doing that, and then moved out here. And a lot of those things that I had sort of like gotten used to doing don't exist on the other side of the country in a completely different setting with completely different weather, with completely different people
Ah,
and all of that. So I think,
You get to start all over again.
Yeah, which is like I was looking forward to, and I am looking forward to, but I am like acutely aware of how good I had made it for myself, like how well I had done.
Like when you get into a groove where you're like, ooh, I built in these things that
Yeah.
I enjoy, and then you have to uproot and figure out how to replace the things you used to do with something else. It's gotta
Yeah.
be, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I was spending, like I said, all my time outside. I developed a routine with managing the dogs by myself and managing work. I took a job this summer that I work remotely, which is amazing.
Nice.
But I had this entire, this kind of entire routine set up where I made that work. I had friends that I knew when they were available, and we would go like meet for breakfast or meet for lunch, like, and things like in the middle of the workday. And here, I have some friends, but they don't live 6 minutes from me because I don't live in the city anymore, where they don't live in the city with me. And it's much more of an excursion to like decide to go somewhere and like, do something.
Yeah.
So I need to figure out, like, that's one of the things I need to figure out pretty quick is like how to not hole up and like isolate myself in the house, because I will be miserable. Like I will hate that, and I'll just be an awful person, and I don't want to be that. So
yeah, I notice when I get into a space of like I'm a little bit in a funk, or I feel like, man, like I just can't get my thoughts about my world right now. Like, what have I been doing? And it's usually the times where I'm like, oh, I haven't done shit outside in 2 days. I need to do something outdoors.
Yep.
Yeah. What was something over that year time frame that you were finding a lot of shit that really resonated with you, that stuck out that you weren't doing before?
Probably the biggest thing, like, which I kind of started doing because my fiance was in ranger school. I started doing like rucking, and it wasn't like true rucking. I didn't have like a backpack. I had like a weight vest.
Okay.
But I would essentially put the weight vest on and go for like really, really, really long walks, like 6 to 12 mile walks.
Wow.
That were like, relatively fast, like intended to be sort of like quick. And I would just walk away from my house, which like, so that it was kind of a goal before I left Norfolk to like really, really make it mine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very bittersweet that I made it mine, because it also means that like, it's not mine now. And that's like, I probably made it harder for myself to leave.
Okay.
But I'm super glad that I experienced every ounce of it. I mean, I walked to neighborhoods across town and explored neighborhoods like in my weight vest. And like I had favorite houses that I would go walk by that were, 5 miles from my house. And like
people like, there's that crazy chick again.
Yeah. No, it was like a joke. It was seriously, I remember a mailman was like, hey girl, like how much weight you got in that thing? And I was like, oh, like 25 pounds. And he's like, way to go. And I was like, thanks, and like, he's got his like his like mail bag, and I've got my like weight vest on. And, yeah. And I mean, I loved it. And I had it down to a science. I had bought this, like, it's like a runner's belt for like bottles, but I was very specific. So I didn't put the bottle in there. I would put my phone in the bottle thing, and then I would put a bottle in the pouch of my weight vest. And like, I got like a Garmin watch, and I had like a pulley little like alarm system. Like if somebody tried to steal me like mid walk or something, I could like, and I had like, I bought like headbands to wear for like all the sweat in my face. And like, I had it like, so that when I would leave for these walks, I mean, I was like decked out. Like I had like my rucking shorts on and my body glide on, and like the right shirt under my weight vest. And like, it was hilarious. Like, but I loved it. And it honestly just felt so good to me. Like I have never loved cardio, but I very much love movement. So moving for just hours straight, walking around, to me is like, And a lot of the time I would do it with no music or anything. I would just
That's what I
walk.
was going to ask you. I was going to ask
Yeah.
you if you were in your music or just letting your mind go.
Yeah. Normally I would just walk. Sometimes I would listen to podcasts.
Okay. Like dive into
Like,
discussion.
sorry.
Like dive into discussion.
Oh, of course, obviously. Obviously. But honestly, most of the time I didn't listen to anything. Like so in Ranger School, the students have to do on the their first week of Ranger School is kind of like a weed out week, kind of. So it's just like awful. It's yeah. So they just make you do a whole bunch of terrible things, and they like gas you super hard, and like you're not eating, you're not sleeping, like all of this stuff. But the very last thing, and it's on Thursday morning, is a 12-mile ruck march, and they have to do it in under 3 hours. And they have to carry at the halfway point, they get a popsicle stick, and they have to have that popsicle stick when they get back before the 3-hour mark. And even if they meet the time deadline, but they don't have the popsicle stick, like they'll fail.
Yeah.
So it happened to be that his ruck march was July 4th this year.
Okay.
And so that was my first one. So I actually I was like trying to find ways to stay connected, because you can't communicate with your person when they're in Ranger School. Like you only can do letters.
Okay.
And those letters like may or may not arrive like on either end. Like
Okay.
you have no idea. And of course, even when they do, they're 2 weeks old, so, and like they can get kicked out for anything. They can get recycled for anything. Like you just don't know, they're miserable, they can't eat, they're losing weight. Like, it's just torture. So I was trying to stay connected, and I was like, I'm going to do a 12-mile ruck march. I'm an idiot. I've not ever put a weight vest on and rucked for 12 miles, especially trying to meet a 3-hour deadline. Like,
oh shit.
But this is the kind of person I am. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I'm even going to wake up super early, because they have to do it super early. It's like, they start at like 4:30 in the morning or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to do that, because like, no, for one. But I was like, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to go. And my totally unprepared, ridiculous self, I didn't eat before I went. I didn't bring any water. Like, no, I know. It was July 4th in the coast of Virginia. Like,
oh my God.
Why? Like, what am I doing? So, and I am hauling ass, because I am motivated. Like, in my head, I'm like talking to him the whole time. Like, I think I was talking out loud some. Like, I was like, come on, babe, you got this. Like, like trying to like channel him. And I get to like probably 5.5 miles, and I'm like, I'm making great time. I mean, in all of the ruck marches I've done since that one, I have never made the same time that I was making on this very first one. But I was like I said, I was so motivated because I wanted him to get through so badly. So at like 5.5 miles, I'm like, I might die if I don't get some water. Like, this is not good. So I'm like contemplating what I do. I'm like, do I like turn around and ruck home and get like water there and then like keep going? But like psychologically, that didn't seem like the right choice. Like, I felt like once I walked in the house, I wasn't going to want to walk back out, So then I remember that Starbucks has an app on my phone that has my card, my gold card, that I've been a member since like 2011, like a gold card member of Starbucks since 2011, that all I have to do is just scan my phone. And I have my phone because I'm smart enough to bring that in case, like, again, somebody tries to steal me or something. That was my only safety measure. Yeah. But so at 7 miles, so I walked to a Starbucks from where I was. Like, walk in, I am like just dripping sweat. As soon as I stop in line, like my glutes start cramping, my hamstrings start cramping, but I'm just like, hi, can I just have this water, please? Like, and she's like, sure, are you okay? And I'm like, yep, thanks. Like, so then so then I keep walking. 1.5 miles later, I come back to Starbucks with an empty bottle, and I'm like, you would be my hero if you would just refill this in your sink.
Some more.
Yeah, and then I started like rationing my water after that because I like realized that I'm an idiot. Um, and then truthfully, I almost made it in under 3 hours. I should say that. Like I made it. I was 19 minutes late.
Damn.
Yeah, which I think is really good.
Still awesome for a 12-mile run.
Yeah. So I was on a 3 hour pace until mile, I think 9.
Okay.
And then I honestly I was cramping up so much. There wasn't anything I could do other than just kind of like hobble. Like the last mile, I was in my neighborhood trying to get to my house, and I was just like my like like gate was like 6 inches apart. Like I was just like, and then truthfully, I could not like, I've never felt soreness like that, like for like 4 days.
Oh God.
But then these rangers, like these ranger students, they're just like doing that. It's crazy. They're doing that on top of all the other stuff they've done and on top of not eating. And then they just, the next day have to do other stuff. Like, I don't even understand it, but,
Build some hard motherfuckers to do the shit.
seriously. But truthfully, like I said, like that, like resonated with me super hard. I loved it. I made it a habit. Like I said, I kind of like turned it into like, you know, a routine of mine. A hobby. Like I said, I bought stuff for it. I had specific like routines of how I did this. And, it was awesome. And some days, even on days that I didn't want to put the weight vest on, I would just go for long walks by myself, and I would just go walk for miles. Um, and I think that's something I miss here. So I'm in now like a suburb, like, I don't know, it's kind of a country, it's kind of a town outside of the city, and it's sparse. It's very country. My neighborhood is like a subdivision with like a bunch of houses that look similar. And, you know, even if I walk every street in this neighborhood, it's not more than like a mile and a half total of like a walk. And there's really nowhere to walk outside of the neighborhood either. Like you kind of put yourself on sort of like a road that really is probably not really safe to be walking on. Like, so yeah, I got to figure that out, because I know that as soon as the weather gets, especially as soon as the weather gets better, I'm like, I can't stay like, now that I've done that, like that's something that's so important to me. So I'm gonna have to figure that out somehow.
Is that a goal of yours this year?
Yeah, I think since I've been here, I've been trying to scout out like places that um I can do things like that, or things that I want to learn how to do, or like I'm excited to do some hiking here. There's a lot more hiking here than, I mean, where I was, there's no hiking.
Yeah.
Which is hence the rucking, like, because there was like nothing else I could do like that.
Yeah.
And then here, there's actually like hiking, so like I know that I will enjoy that a lot once the weather's good. But I hear it's like this until like June-ish, and then they say it's lovely in the summer.
Oh.
So really looking forward to that part, but I don't know what I'm going to do between now and then.
Yeah, the left coast is definitely on steroids when it comes to the hiking.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Well, what else you got going on for the new year outside of trying to figure out your new routine? It's
Outside of that,
anything. I mean, maybe because whenever you move to a new place, it's legit like everything that you used to do. You gotta
yep.
you look at it differently. You're just like,
Yep.
all right, well, I'm not driving to the same places. I'm not always
Yep.
around the same people. It's a different lifestyle. Like there's so much about it that changes. It takes a minute to get acclimated.
Yeah. So one thing I think is, one of the things I was really looking forward to about moving out here was that, like, I had really bogged myself down where I was, like especially like when I was talking to you. So I was working a full-time job. I had like, so that was 2018. I was at a full-time job. I had like one or two PRN jobs. As a reminder, I'm a speech therapist. I was teaching a college class.
Mm-hmm.
I was coaching. So I mean, I had like I mean, my schedule was,
Right.
and a lot of that is that I like my regular day job, like my speech therapy job it makes my money.
Mhm.
And it gives me stability and benefits and all of that, but it isn't the thing that like makes me warm and fuzzy.
Ah,
So what I would do is I would take these part-time things like the teaching job at the university and like the coaching, and those were the things that like fueled me,
mhm.
um, which were very important. But when it all came down to it, like the addition of more and more and more and more and more eventually became just not feasible.
Yeah.
So last year around this time, I started phasing things out. I stopped coaching as much as I was coaching. Um, Basically, just kind of turned into sort of more of like a fill-in coach. If
Okay.
they needed me, I would step in, but um, I knew I wasn't going to be teaching this fall because I knew I was going to be moving out here, so that wasn't going to happen. Um, and I had gone back to my old job before, was there for about a year, and then in July got like this kind of job that is a job I've always really wanted, for a company that I really, really love. And so when I did that, it actually allowed me to kind of like get rid of the other things too. So I stopped coaching entirely, stopped all the PRN stuff, stopped teaching. But so now I'm out here with one job that is me working at home, which is wildly different than the last, 10 years of my life, which has always been multiple jobs and lots of faces and lots of interaction with people. And now I don't have that. So I need to find, it worked when I was in Norfolk really easily because like I said, I was so central. Like
Mhm.
I could drive down the street or I could walk to a friend's house. Like it was so easy to like have some interaction, but where I am now, that doesn't really exist. So um, I really want to do really good at this job though. So I want to, I it's a priority, to stay at this job.
Yeah.
So, um, but like trying to figure out even things around the house that like I've also let go in the past several years because I couldn't do them when I was so busy, like
Mm.
cooking. I love cooking. I've always loved cooking. And to be honest, in the past 3 years, 4 years, like I've barely cooked. And it was
Mm.
just because I was always rushing, I had to find a way to, you know, make something quick. And then for the last year, it's been by myself,
Yeah.
and you just don't cook the same for yourself alone
No.
as you do with someone else.
Yeah.
So, things like that. Like I'm trying to like rebuild like, like a pantry, like the stuff that I know I need so that I can cook regularly. We're trying to like create a whole home gym area so that we can work out here and not have to drive 25 minutes to base to work out.
Yeah.
Which I'm looking forward to because that's something I always kind of wished I had at my other house, but there was nowhere to put it. It was a 105-year-old house. Like
Yeah. We
I'm not
used
going to put a
to live
barbell.
out back of your old house, right? Because
Yeah,
I
like on
used
the patio. It
to
was like pavers.
those and whatnot. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So here we actually have like a full garage. And so I'm looking forward to that. I did find like maybe a possible like coaching gig that I could maybe do, which I'm debating. Like, I just don't want to start adding things to my plate again, being mad that I did.
Yeah.
So I need to like find the balance between like how much interaction do I need? Like
Mm.
what do I really want to take on? Because one of the things that I really, like I said, I think kind of messed up there was I just was like too busy. I did too much.
Yeah. 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 Man, it's an ebb and flow, it's a constant trying to balance this shit out,
Yeah.
because when you get excited about something and you start something new and you get that feeling in your body, like that fuzzy feeling that you're like, ooh, I like this.
Yep.
And then you want to try something else and you do something else and then you don't realize how much shit you're taking on and you're like, shit, I need to scale back. You scale back a few things and you're like, shit, I need to find a few more things.
Uh-huh.
Constantly just goes
Yeah.
around.
And like being like chronically, at least before, I was so bad at saying no.
Yeah.
I would just end up with like doing way more than I intended to do, or taking like way more responsibility on than I meant to take on. And, you know, I just, especially in my job being like a medical job, that if one of my PRN jobs called me and said, like, we really need you specifically to see this patient,
Mhm.
here's why, like, my heart couldn't say no to that. Like, like, even if I had no way to make this work, like, I'd be like, okay, and I'd like figure it out. I would,
I suppose. Okay.
yeah. So like now I don't work clinically at all, and like I refuse to go back to like anything clinical for a while,
Yeah.
because I know I will accidentally overwhelm myself like that again, because I also am my father's daughter, which means if anybody's like, we'll pay you to blah blah blah, I'm like, okay, like whatever it is, like it doesn't like, I'm always like that. Like it's so awful. So
Yeah, that's funny.
yeah, I'm still like the kid. Like literally, my fiance was like, "I'll pay you $20 to clean out your car." I'd be like, "Okay, yeah," as long as I knew that it was money that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Like that he was getting somehow specifically
Mm.
for me to clean out his car. That wouldn't be our money anyway. Like it's like it's like that. Like it's ridiculous. It's
Well, it sounds like you got some fun stuff to figure out in 2020, at least.
yeah. I'm
It's
looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good year.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to like finding myself out here and like not relying on the routine that I had to define me, but actually like having the opportunity to define myself here. I think I'm just right now I'm like a little overwhelmed with like how to do that.
Hmm.
It's a lot.
You feel like the past year though had been like big time for you to be able to be in the mental space that you are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I never would have entertained the idea of moving across the country from my family until now.
Okay.
Um, that it never would have worked.
Hmm.
Even now, like I was talking to my parents on the phone earlier today, and they're like, we just want you to be happy, and we don't want you like sad and I was like, I understand that. I'm like, for one, like, but it's it's not super helpful for you to tell me that you don't want me to have any negative feelings, because like I do, and I don't want to lie to you. So please don't put me in a position where I have to fake perfect happiness all the time, because I don't want to stress you out, which is what I'll do. Like that is what I'll do. And I've done a ton of work in the past year internally to stop doing that for my family. So I don't want to do that. And I'm like, but at the same time, like the best kind of comfort I can give you is that like I'm fine. Like I am, I think, giving myself what I need to give. I'm aware enough of what I need to give myself that even if things turn to total shit,
Hmm.
I'm not that worried about it. Like I'll figure it out. Like, I'll make it work. I'll heal from it. Like I know I will. And so I don't need them to worry about me, because I think I now have my own back enough that I'm not scared of hard things happening. So um yeah, but I was not there a year ago. I mean, a year ago I couldn't have been here yet. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a powerful piece though. Like that what you just brought up is like other people wanting you to be happy and not sad, and it's just to avoid it. Like, yeah, I think that's a big issue in the world, is just not wanting to be sad, and you're trying to avoid it so much that you don't look at the things that make you sad.
yeah.
And
Yep.
that's when you figure it out. Like
Yeah.
you have to have those, going back to the yin and the yang, you have
Yep.
to have those emotions to be able to truly feel the warm and the fuzzy and the happy and the joy.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, I
like
know they call it toxic positivity, I think. the whole like,
No.
don't be sad, smile, think positive thoughts, like find, all of that, all of that stuff. And,
Mhm.
Truthfully, like that's not helpful for most of us. Like I read a quote earlier today and it was something like, I'm tired of seeing all of these books on happiness. Where are the books on it's okay to feel sad? Like it's okay that life isn't going exactly as you expected it right now. You'll figure it out. You've got this, um, I think that's something that I've been able to give to myself over the last couple of years, is that I have so much faith in myself that things can be really crappy and not go as planned, and they're not ever going to go as planned, and like that's okay. um you'll figure it out, and if you don't figure it out, it's because whatever is happening isn't the right thing to be happening, and you'll find something else, and um there's a huge safety net in that. Like I feel so much more comforted by that than I ever felt by anybody ever saying to me like, I'm here for you, or call me if you need me, or anything like that. Like I love when people check in on me, by all means, and that makes me feel really lovely. But my first and foremost, like, protection is me. Like, and so I want my dad to feel really happy with what I'm doing, and to him to feel really at ease with what I'm doing. And but I'm not at the risk of me having to like pretend like everything is like super awesome all the time, because you're right. Like this is a transition. Like there's no way to move across the country and not be like, whoa, what the heck? Like
Exactly.
what is this? Because it's all different. Like you said, I mean, like the food is different, and the
The
like
people, I'm sure.
yeah, the people are different. The temperature, it's also like different than you even think it's gonna be. Like I imagined what it was gonna be,
Yeah.
and it's not that. And I think that that's like one of the things that we do all the time to ourselves as humans, is we like make this idea of what we think something's gonna be, and then when it's not, we're disappointed.
Yeah.
And
Expect.
like that's really unfair, because we literally created that
Mhm.
vision. Like that didn't come from anywhere other than my head. Like,
Yeah.
you know, um, but like making a point, now I'm making a point to try to find places that like remind me a little bit of home, or like
Hmm.
kind of have my kind of stuff. So we actually found like an area in Tacoma yesterday that was like, or actually the night before, and then we went back yesterday because I was like, I like this. Like this feels like where I'm supposed to be. Like I feel okay. I feel good here. Like,
Yeah.
and that was really helpful. But it's also teaching me a lot about me. Like I um I knew I was used to living in a city.
Hmm.
I knew that I really liked it. And I knew that it was most likely going to be that I wasn't going to end up living in Tacoma here, because it's um for one, it's big, and there's like a lot of areas, and I knew going sight unseen, like I wasn't going to be able to decide where to live by making a good decision.
Yeah.
And then I knew that once we got here, we were going to be kind of pressed because we were staying with friends.
Right.
So I was like, oh, this is fine. Like we'll get, this place in this sort of suburb area, and it'll be fine. It's a rental, and we've been here for 2 weeks, and it's a lovely house. Um, but like, it's very clear to me that I have become a city girl. Like
Mm.
sometime in the past, 10 years that I've been in Norfolk, I've become a city girl. And I don't like not being able to get places on foot now. And I don't like new houses, which I think I thought I knew, but then I thought maybe I was wrong.
Yeah.
Um, but like they're not for me, and it's like, okay, so this is good to know that, so I don't like buy a house
Mhm.
that I'm then tied to, um, and have it be like, oh crap, this really isn't like what I want. Like, my brother and his wife love places like this. Like this worked really well for them.
Mhm.
But like, it's just not really my thing. So that's helpful to know as well. It's amazing how much we just keep learning about ourselves constantly, no matter how much work we do.
Oh my God, I know. Even when you're trying to do the work, like shit that comes up out of nowhere, and you're just, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, well, so apparently I like blah, blah, blah now, like,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
apparently I don't like this thing anymore. Like that used to work really well for me. And like,
yeah,
nope, not now. And I always wondered how like my parents or like my patients, like my older people, like seemed so comfortable with like just like changes being thrown at them. I didn't understand because to me every change was so jarring every single time. And I'm
yeah.
finding now I'm about to turn 34 in 8 days. And I'm finding that like by the second, I feel like I'm just expecting change more. Like I'm hyper aware that nothing's permanent, all the time. And like that's really comforting actually. And I wish I could have developed that skill way younger. I don't know that that's
Oh my
possible, but
God, preaching to the choir. Good Lord. Yeah, it is. Yeah, the comfort and understanding that change doesn't stop.
yeah.
And I think that's where I used to be in a worse place when I was just like, oh my God, like all this shit that I used to like to do isn't working for me now, and I
Yep.
didn't know how to change it,
Yep.
and I didn't know what I was doing.
It feels like an identity crisis. You're
It-
like, oh God, like, what does this mean about me? And like, it doesn't mean anything is the
no,
answer. Like, it just means that you like other things.
yeah. But then go back and tell that to yourself as like curled up in a fetal position, bawling
Yeah.
your eyes out, and they're just like, "You're lying to me."
Yeah.
It's,
But who am I if not this person? Like,
yeah.
it's so funny. I don't know, I don't even remember if we talked about it or not, but when I started getting tattoos,
Hmm.
I mean, I wrestled. Like, I wanted a tattoo for a while and I didn't get one because I just couldn't decide if I wanted to be a person who had tattoos. And for some reason in my head, that was a box. Like there was a box of people who had tattoos and a box of people who don't.
Right.
Um, and then I got one and I was like, okay, now I'm a person who has a tattoo. But then it was like really hard for me to like, then I was like, but like, what, what do I do? And then my dog died
Oh,
fairly soon after we talked and I got a tattoo like for her. And then it was just all bets were off. Then it
yeah.
was just like, now I'm just gonna get whatever I want. And like it was so freeing to realize that I'm just the same daggone person. I just have some art on my body, and I've like done so I've also, one of the things I think I did a lot of last year was like just a lot of like physical changes. I like dyed my hair brown for a while and like really tried to like really own the impermanence of like all of us, that we can like do whatever and we can change whatever and we can look different and there's so much more fun we can have than we're actually having,
Yeah.
because we put ourselves in these boxes and we tell ourselves that like this is, this looks good on me or this doesn't look good on me, or I like this food or I don't like this food, or I belong in this part of town or I don't belong in this part of town or whatever. And like all those things do or keep you small. Like if you can just sort of be like, hey, like I kind of look like I'm going to throw up every time I wear yellow, but you know what? I really like yellow. And you know what? People who look at me are just going to have to deal with being worried about me possibly throwing up at any moment. And that's fine because I know my stomach feels okay, and like you just kind of do it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I love it. It's I know exactly what you're talking about. I was at a point like mid last year where I'm just sitting there and I'm like, man, this isn't working. That isn't working. These things are coming up and that caused this and this caused that. And I'm just like, I just want to have more fun.
Yeah.
I just want to have more fun,
So what
And
did you do?
what's that?
What did you do?
Getting outside more.
Yeah.
It's realizing that I'm spending way too much time in front of a computer trying to figure all this shit out. And it's like, if I'm gonna be in a creative space to put together content that's gonna go out there to be able to put towards the pursuits that I'm going after,
Yeah.
then I need to get that shit from somewhere. And sometimes that's just taking advantage of the place that I live and driving to the beach and just chilling there
Yep.
for a little bit, or it's just taking my dog on a walk,
Yep.
going around the neighborhood and just getting outside. Like, I was losing sight of the simple shit that I think a lot of us lose sight of when things start to get busy, or when we're working on something and the days go by and we don't realize where we are.
Yeah.
And for me, over the years, it's been recognizing that quicker and quicker,
Yeah.
knowing it's not going to go away,
Yep.
and knowing that it's a constant, just like, oh, I'm off course a little bit. I just need to course correct.
Yeah. So I love that, because that's something that I think I have gotten so much better at. And it's one of the great joys, I think, of getting older, is that you start being able more quickly to like tune into like, whoa, I don't feel like me right now.
Yeah.
And like, and you start to be even better at that, like even within that, you start to be better at being like, why?
Yeah.
Oh, this,
Yeah.
this. And then you can sort of like, shuffle those things around, and then you're like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I feel okay again, and like, and it just,
This came up, so I need to do this.
yeah. Yeah. What I just posted like a thing yesterday on Instagram, something about like, do you ever take a day off just to spend some time understanding yourself? And I was like, I feel like that's me all the time. Is like, I'm like, now why am I like acting like this? Like, and where I think when I was younger, I could have been much more global about it. Like, oh, because this is wrong and this is wrong. And, but so-and-so is making me be this way or whatever. And now I'm just kind of like, maybe I'm not getting enough sleep. Like, you know what? I think actually, like, I kind of miss eating fresh vegetables. Like, I think that might be part of it. It's like,
It's some of the most simple shit
yep.
ever. Like said what you just said there, I'm like, yeah, there's been those moments where I'm like, oh, I've gone to bed a little bit later and got up a little bit earlier than I normally do.
Yep.
I'm not helping myself.
No.
Like, I'm not getting any more done by pretending that, oh, I'm just going to fight through it. It's like, no, I could be a lot more efficient and not have to do that.
Yep.
If I feel clear.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done that with so many different things lately. Like, even just returning to things that like I know fuel me. Like, I was feeling a little spinny last week because of, moving here and kind of feeling more out of control. And I was like, you know what? I haven't been writing at all. Like, I'm just going to pull out my journal, and every night I'm going to write one thing I'm grateful for and one thing I'm proud of. And then if other things come, I can write those things.
Yep.
And if not, that at least gives me an anchor. Like, so I have, a thing I do every day. I'm keeping some commitment to myself. And then that anchors me a little bit. And then I have a little bit more freedom to sort of like, all right, like, let me figure out what else it is. And it can be like dumb things like, I haven't been lighting a candle while I work. Like, and I'm used to like having nice smells in my house. And then like, I've been just, smelling my regular house all the time. Like, and then you light a candle and you're like, oh, like life is so much more lovely like this, and it's little things, but I don't think that I had I remember when I moved to Florida after grad school, and I felt like I was just in a tornado. Like, I remember being like, what do I do? Like, I don't like anything. And I started like painting things, which like, I'm not good at stuff like that. I don't even enjoy stuff like that. I'm gonna be honest. But like, I didn't know what else to do. And I was just trying to do things that people do when they're at home. I started like baking bread all the time, which I do enjoy that part, but I was just doing all this stuff and I wasn't ever finding any comfort. And I think so much of that is that like, I didn't even know where to look in myself to like figure out what was actually happening. And I think now I'm a lot quicker to like look at myself and own whatever it is. I know my fiance gets mad at me because almost every time we fight, like, I'm very objective and I like kind of like lay out exactly what I think is happening. And like, this is what, this is like my responsibility and this is yours. And like, this is where, and he's like, it makes me so mad that you're usually right about all of this stuff. Like, you're able to like pull, kind of like line it all up. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, it's just a skill I've developed over time. Like,
yeah,
I imagine that is annoying, but like, it's just how I naturally, when things aren't working, I just start to be like, okay, like, what are the workings here? And I just start like taking each cog and like trying to figure out where they, what's happening where, and then I don't know, but I couldn't do that before. So I maintain, and I've maintained this forever, that I enjoy growing older. Like, I think
Awesome.
it's awesome.
That is awesome. Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap this thing up today.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because I feel the same way. It's like the more that I learn, the more years that pass, I'm like, I now know
Yep.
that.
Yep. Someday I will be a wise old woman and you'll be a wise old man, and it'll be awesome.
There you go. There you go. And then we'll have to do another one of these again. And then, this is what we learned.
Whoa, Sunny.
Oh shit. Well, thanks a lot, Beth, for
Yeah, thank you.
time. And yeah, it was good catching up.
You too. Have a great day.
All right, we'll see you.